We are back on the couch because we figure Oscar weekend is upon us. If you are in an Oscars pool, consider this your cheat sheet, Thor ready to take us through the major categories. And this year, when we look at the 2017 class, the competition is much more fierce, even though we have a frontrunner in La La Land, which we'll soon talk about.
Yeah, very stiff competition. We're going to start with the major acting categories. And you know what? I'm going to throw in a bit of a mix-up here. Don't put your money on this one. I just have a feeling with Best Actress, it's going to go to Isabelle Huppert in Elle. Now, she isn't really a household name by any means. When I saw Natalie Portman in Jackie, I thought she was going to be the front runner. Ruth Negga is sensational in Loving. Emma Stone, she's also the favorite for La La Land, and Meryl Streep with the obligatory nomination for Florence Foster Jenkins. But in Elle, Isabelle Huppert gives out the best performance of her career. She's a woman that endures a sexual assault, and then she goes through the movie. It kind of galvanizes her. She seeks revenge, and it really emboldens her, and she becomes stronger because of it. And it's a fascinating film from Paul Verhoeven. Now, the film had some flaws, but Huppert's performance is amazing, and she has a lot of respect in the Academy. So I think this is not going to be an upset. I think it's going to be a surprise. So, you know what? I'm going to say Huppert for Best Actress.
So that's your favorite on the female side. If we jump to the male side of things, Casey Affleck looks to be the front runner, but what about Denzel in Fences, given the critical acclaim this movie received?
Well, there are 5 tremendous actors here in great roles, but again, it does come down to Affleck and Denzel Washington. Denzel Washington, you talk about Huppert, he commands a tremendous amount of respect amongst the Academy, but I still think the momentum is with Casey Affleck for his gripping and heartbreaking performance in Manchester by the Sea. Basically, he led the field all year round. He swept the Critics Awards with the Golden Globe, the BAFTA. He didn't win the SAG Award, and that is an important one as well because it's much like the Oscar voting body as well. But I still think Casey's going to kind of sneak away with the win. But still, I really recommend seeing Fences for Denzel's performance. It's one of the best of his career, but it's also a career-topping role for Casey Affleck. So this is probably neck and neck and one of the tightest races we've seen in a long time with Best Actor.
Well, it makes it a must-see category, no doubt. Before we get to Best Picture, let's look at Best Director and see where your favorite lies.
Well, in the last 5 years, 3 of the Best Directing awards have gone to movies that weren't Best Picture. So we could see Barry Jenkins perhaps duking it out with Damien Chazelle for La La Land. I mean, I love Denis Villeneuve's contribution to Arrival. I thought that was such smart science fiction. Kenneth Lonergan writing and directing Manchester by the Sea, such a gripping, poignant movie. And Mel Gibson, he's no longer persona non grata in Hollywood with Hacksaw Ridge, but really it's between Jenkins and Chazelle, and I still think Chazelle is going to take this one because he crafted an old-school musical that is also a modern romance that looks at life in Hollywood and Los Angeles and the complications of relationships, the way he staged and choreographed, with the help of Mandy Moore, some of these amazing dance and musical sequences, absolutely incredible. Such a throwback, and he's such a young, accomplished director already. I mean, I loved Whiplash, so I still think he's going to walk away with Best Director on Sunday.
The amazing thing about this movie is on Oscars.com, they take you behind the scenes, and Damien Chazelle, this movie did not test well with audiences.
No.
As a director, he thought this movie would flop.
Oh, and a lot of studios didn't want to touch it. They thought, you're crazy. You want to do a musical set in modern LA? Nobody's going to want to do it. Now it's the highest grossing film of all the Best Picture nominations.
And out of all of them, Best Picture, is it La La Land your favorite as well?
It's taken it, yeah. I mean, it's got 14 nominations, tying the most ever with All About Eve and Titanic. If it wins 11, it will tie the record for the most with Titanic, Ben-Hur, and Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. It's not a question of whether it will win Best Picture. It's a question simply of how many it will get at this point. And Hollywood, front and center here in terms of the story. The Academy loves movies about movie making, and they love those old school throwbacks and those nods to the bygone days of cinematic classics, and that one has it in spades.
Nice setup. It's going to be fun to watch. 5:30 local time. Jimmy Kimmel set to host. It all goes down Sunday. We'll have full highlights Monday morning. Nice preview there, Thor.
Looking forward to it. Yeah, thanks. You kind of whet my appetite there, Thor. Thank you so much. Looking forward to Sunday.